Welcome to the Feminine Truth Podcast with Mary Miranda, a place where you can reconnect with your wild, cyclical, and fierce truth. I am Mary Miranda, a mentor, guide, healer, and intuitive coach. I guide women on a journey of remembrance, reconnection, and embodiment of their inner feminine truth. Join me each week to tap into raw, unedited, and unfiltered sacred conversations to help women tap into their inner feminine truth to become bold, unshakable, and apologetic in who they truly are. Let's jump into today's sacred conversation. Welcome to another episode of this podcast with your host, Mary Miranda. Today, I want to talk to you about ghosting and everything that I have learned, what I coach women on, and actionable steps for you to start implementing so this feels less daunting and painful. And I feel like a lot of women experience a lot of pain, feeling like hopeless, feeling like they want to give up on dating, especially because they haven't really done the inner work to handle being ghosted. And this is very much connected to childhood core wounds. So I'm going to be talking about all of this. But I did a TikTok about ghosting, something that I come to understand why men ghost, and it went viral. So I wanted to share with you exactly what I said. And what I shared, it's realizing being ghosted is often not about you, but the other person not having the ability to communicate properly, handle difficult conversations, feel the discomfort of his emotions, and maybe him abandoning, rejecting you before he gets abandoned and rejected by you. They are all coping mechanisms to stay safe, not get hurt, and ultimately not experience intimacy in a relationship because love feels scary. He exited and disqualified himself, and this is a blessing in disguise. And this literally went viral, and so many women agreed with it. But I have been wanting to do a full episode on this. So I have a bunch of notes and things that can help you. The first thing is that a lot of women internalize this as it's about themselves. And I want to make this podcast because being ghosted is truly a hurtful thing to experience. And if you have an anxious attachment, it will activate your anxiety and your attachment style. And if you have unhealed core wounds, like an unmet needs from childhood or past experiences from exes or men that have ghosted you that you have not healed, the pain will feel more intense, especially if you have woundings around, like core wounds around abandonment, rejection, not feeling good enough or not enough or unworthy or unlovable or not chosen. Or also if you have wounding of like you don't belong. For example, that's one that I actually did have before. And unprocessed pain compounds. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. If you haven't done the work to heal your core wounds and unprocessed experiences from your past and your inner child and pretty much any past experience that you've had, whenever you get ghosted, you will carry that unhealed, unprocessed pain and emotions. And that's why it feels so intense. It feels like 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times worse than before. It's because of all the compounded and accumulated unprocessed pain and emotions. And a lot of people avoid doing the work because they don't want to feel their feelings, because it can be very painful to think about feeling your feelings and the pain and re-experience that. But once you process it, it is so liberating. And the next thing I want to talk about is obviously, like I said, a lot of people, women, I want to speak actually to women more than anything because this is my main audience. And I speak a lot about heterosexual cis relationships because it's what I understand the most, but this can be applicable to anyone that you are attracted to. But basically, just to make things a little bit easier for me, because of also my experience, and the women that come to me are women that date men. But this honestly can be applicable to whomever you date and are attracted to without having, I want to be inclusive, but this would make it easier. I just kind of wanted to say that out of respect. But for example, a lot of women internalize and turn this around that it's about them. Like, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough for that person. And I want to talk about what's it about you. It's not associated with your worth and value. That's the first thing. It has nothing to do with your worth and value, because your worth and value and enoughness and being lovable is innately yours since you are born. So this has nothing to do with you, how lovable, worthy, enough, deserving, or valuable you literally are. And another thing that you can ask a question about is, did you do anything for this person to ghost you? If not, then it's definitely not about you. Like, if you were rude, mean, or did something like really bad, yeah, maybe there's a reason why they ghosted you. But if you feel like there's nothing that you have done or said, and there's no reason this man should have ghosted you, then you know that it's not about you, it's about them. And this is why that TikTok went viral, because it's literally most of the time, actually all the time, it's going to be about the other person. And the next thing I want to ask you is, were your core beliefs, standards, and vision for life aligned with this person or not? Were your belief systems aligned? The way you believe about relationships, what you desire, your upbringing, what you believe about love, was it aligned? Did you both want a relationship, like a committed relationship? Was that the goal about dating? Did you guys talk about this? Is your dating outcome or goal the same? This is where we need to understand if a person was aligned or not. Maybe in the date or in the conversations, you guys didn't really align and he just decided to ghost you instead of having the conversation with you. These are things that you also need to think about. And was there enough communication about the expectations of the relationship? Is a person looking for the same thing? And a lot of times, like I said, the person doesn't know how to communicate. They don't know how to have those hard conversations. The next thing I want to talk about is one that is probably the most common and the most painful, and is you got ghosted after being intimate with this person and sleeping with this person. And oftentimes it's way too soon. But I want to talk to you about this a little bit more. You are entitled to pleasure and to choose what sexual intimacy feels good to you. There is no shame around this. Don't let anyone shame you for how you choose to view your sexuality and be intimate with someone, or how fast. There is nothing wrong if you desire to sleep with someone too soon, or if it was mutual. The other side of this is if the person was lying about wanting a relationship and making you believe that he wanted a committed relationship and he saw you as probably a potential partner. He loved bombed you and manipulated everything to get you into bed with false promises. That's where it's an issue. And you fell for it because it seems so real, so genuine, and you actually believed in him. And I'm sorry this happened to you. And I've had, honestly, this happened to me, and it's truly painful. And the feeling of being used and feeling like you were used and tossed, it's so real. And this is what I went through. I met someone that I thought was a great fit. He said he wanted a relationship. He even sent me screenshots of him sending to his friends saying, I'm going to make her my girlfriend. So I literally believed that it was going to happen. I literally believed that we were going to end up in a relationship. So he ends up ghosting me after that and pulling away. And I didn't understand what was happening. And I literally felt so used. But through my healing work and everything, I obviously eventually got over it, moved on from it, learned a lot from it. But I do have rules now. And I made a promise to not sleep with someone super fast unless I'm in a committed relationship. But before that, I need to know that we are on the same path, that we want the same things, that we are aligned in so many things, my standards, my values, my vision for life, how I see relationships, how I want to be treated. Like, I, first of all, before I even go on a date, I have I guess I don't want to say it's a vetting process, but it literally is, that I need to make sure this person is a good fit for me to even go out on a first date. And there's also this thing that there is no guarantee, even if you are in a relationship, that this person is not going to pull away or ghost after you are intimate with them. But at least you want to take your time and make sure it's aligned with you. If you choose to sleep with this person, like I said, don't let anyone shame you because you did it so fast. Like, you know what? You learn from this like mistakes. And especially if this has happened to you a few times, then you need to reassess, okay, what boundaries do I need to put around intimacy? You need to set boundaries around intimacy. What feels good for you? Is it the 1, 2, 3 month rule, or they call it the 30, 60, or 90, I guess, date rule of when you need to be intimate? It's literally whatever feels good to you. It's your life, it's your decisions, it's your choice. So choose what feels best for you. But have in mind, for example, if you have been ghosted after being intimate super fast, then this is where you need to put boundaries with yourself and with the other person. And you need to communicate that. You need to be clear on what you desire. Like I said, your values, your standards, your deal breakers, your non-negotiables, your red flags, and be upfront and clear on your dating profile, and communicate with the person what you are looking for. I used to put, I'm not on dating apps anymore. It's been about a year, but I used to put in my profile, I'm looking for a serious committed relationship. I'm not here for hookups or one night stands. I literally used to put that. And obviously I don't use Tinder. I like my favorite app the last one that I used was Bumble. So I always put that in my profile, but at the same time, sometimes you don't really need to put it. You just kind of have to be very discerning on the men that you are matching with. And there's one thing that you have to read the energy of the person and their profile. Like, in the profile can tell you a lot of like probably red flags, deal breakers, things that you can say, you know what, this person is in alignment with me, this person political views and religious views, or something that they said in their profile is not in alignment with me. So then you don't match with that person. Only match with people that are literally aligned with what you desired. And if it's not on their profile and you match with them, you need to ask the questions to get to know them and understand if this person is even someone that is a good fit for you and worthy to even talk to you or go on a first date. So read the energy of the person. If he starts talking about intimacy too soon or insinuating things too soon, I'm good with it and huge on the witty banter. I love it, but in the sarcasm too sometimes. But those are where there's jokes that can be a little sneaky and deceiving. So you have to be very aware if they are starting to do jokes around intimacy or things like that. Or I want to cuddle with you. I want to watch a movie on Netflix and cuddle with you. Like literally, they haven't even met you and they start insinuating those things. Those can be a little bit of a predictor. Is like, hey, is this how you talk to all women? You just want to cuddle with women that you have not even met in person? Like, what boundaries do you have with yourself? Is this what you do with everyone? So it doesn't feel special. It feels like he says this to everyone. So if decide if you want to continue engaging in conversation with this person or walk away, you set the boundaries, you set the tone for the conversation, you set the topics for the conversation. If he starts talking about intimacy too soon, for example, there was one person that I matched with and I was at the gym at the time and I responded something really quick, like, oh, I'm at the gym. And he said something like, oh, I would love to wake up and have energy, but I think I'm thinking about another type of workout. You know, those stupid jokes, I unmatched them immediately. I didn't even have to engage in conversation or snap at him or say anything. No, I'm just like, not my vibe. I don't like being told those things. Like it's so unattractive. It's such a turnoff for me that I just unmatched the man. But I already kind of knew. And this was like probably like someone in their like early 40s. And I'm just like, are you serious? Is this how you lead a conversation? Like I haven't even met you. So also be very discerning on what you desired. And if the conversation starts getting that way, just unmatch. And you can always, and this is how you practice boundaries. And this is how you practice communicating with people that you don't really know. And how you start feeling more empowered when you literally communicate back to them, hey, I'm not aligned with this. I wish you the best, but you are not someone that I'm looking for, or I'm not okay with the way you're talking to me. You literally start enforcing your boundaries. And this is how you build confidence in communicating with people instead of ghosting. And I literally unmatched that person and I guess in a way that could have been seen as ghosting. It was still in a dating app. It was like literally the first two messages that I sent with this man. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not even going to waste my time. So sometimes, like, if it's on a dating app and I've never really engaged in a lot of conversation with a person, I just unmatch because I am just not aligned with, and I don't want to have to. And one of the things is like, okay, if I communicate back to him, I have to wait until that person reads the message, because if I delete unmatched him, he's not going to be able to see the chat. That's what I think. So I oftentimes I'm just like, you know what? It's not even worth the communication with me for me. And it's only happened like twice that I've done that. And for me, it's just like, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm really not going to waste my time. But I also want to talk to you about some reasons why people might ghost. I don't want to make this the focus or for you to overanalyze and kind of dissect everything that I'm saying or try to find the reason why he ghosted. This provides sort of like a relief, and but I don't want you to center this phase that you're going through or this situation around why he ghosted and try to get closure, because the closure happens within you without his reasons, without him giving you an explanation of why he ghosted you. I know a lot of women actually want the explanation. They want to have that closure because they just want to feel that relief, that inner peace. They want to feel like, oh, it's not about me. But when you literally do the inner work and you understand that it's not about you, then you don't really need the closure. The closure happens with yourself. But I still want to say some reasons why people might ghost. And this is something that I have experienced, my clients, and what I have studied or seen on, like, on different social media. And this is like, okay, this is a list of why some people could possibly ghost. Person doesn't have the ability to communicate properly. The person doesn't have emotional intelligence. The person is not obviously emotionally available for them to talk about feelings or how they feel. It's very uncomfortable, and there's a lot of discomfort. Just the thought of them talking to you about why they don't want to continue pursuing the conversation or the connection brings a lot of discomfort, and they're not ready to feel their feelings. A person avoids confrontation. Any conversation of ending something or bringing up a hard conversation about feelings can feel like confrontation. And if they're not emotionally available and don't know how to communicate, they're gonna ghost because it's preferable. A person cannot handle difficult conversations, which goes pair in pair with what I have said previously. The person doesn't want to feel the discomfort of his emotions. And I cannot stress this enough. Because they're not emotionally available. They don't know how to feel their emotions. This is why a lot of the avoidants can feel very stoic. They're not communicative, and they would rather back away, pull away, and ghost versus feeling the discomfort of having the hard conversation, talking to you about how they feel, and having that confrontational. It's not even confrontational, but that communication, and especially waiting for the feedback of what you are going to say, can be terrifying for so many people. The person might not be emotionally or mentally intimate with themselves, so they might lead with sexual intimacy. And when faced with what's required for a relationship, what truly takes to have a relationship, the type of intimacy, there's emotional, there's mental intimacy, there's a lot of intimacy that is non-sexual that takes to have a relationship. And if this person is used to connecting with you sexually only, then obviously when they're faced with the possibility of having a relationship with you beyond being intimate, they're not going to know how to act. This is a lot of the things that avoidants do because they are not used to that non-sexual intimacy. So you have to be very discerning. Is my primary method of connection with this person just sexual? Or are there any non-sexual types of intimacy? You also have to understand that. Other things I have here is being an avoidant feels safer because they're the true effort and commitment required to have a relationship. They don't want to deal with it. So it's so much easier to walk away and to run away and not have the effort, the time and investment and intimacy required to have a relationship with you. maybe love feels really scary. Maybe they might have experienced hurt, heartbreak, disappointment, and they just don't want to go through that again. So there's also like this part of being an avoidant that they don't want to face with the same emotions, especially a lot of men who happen to be heartbroken from an early age or something that happened in their younger years that they got really heartbroken and they really suffered through that. They're going to be afraid of experiencing the same emotions. This is why they're avoidance, because they detach from their emotions. They want nothing to do with that because it's so painful to feel our emotions. And we all know this. Maybe the person is going through a life situation where they're ashamed, or maybe their mental health is not there. Maybe they have an illness or something that is embarrassing. And I was thinking about this because I matched with someone like the last time I was on a dating app, and I had matched with that person previously, and always kind of like the conversation fizzled out. I saw that he was not available. I saw that his communication was not okay with me, and I just unmatched the person eventually. But every time I would go back to dating apps, he would try to match me. And I'm like, is this person like not okay? So the last time I matched again with this person, I think it was the third time, I was like, okay, well, I need to like let him know exactly why I won't go out with him again. Like I've already had this conversation. And he literally just explained to me like he was going through a life transition. He was trying to move from the south side of Chicago to be closer to where his son is. And he was trying to sell his house and do all this thing. And I was like, okay, I could understand that. So we started chatting, but then I noticed that he started pulling away again. And then when we had a date set up, he completely canceled. And he said that he had walked 30,000 steps and his feet hurt, always excuses. And he's like, when can I see you again? I'm like, okay, well, my schedule is very limited, but I think Sunday I could have time. Sunday rolls around and I already knew I wasn't even going to get ready or anything. I was just like, okay, what's his excuse going to be? His excuse was that he has a skin condition and he was ashamed of it and he was embarrassed about it. This is why I'm bringing this up, because it could be like, it could be a little like some people don't want to talk about their illness or what they're going through. So then I said something like, oh, okay, well, I can appreciate you being honest about it and telling me. But I honestly didn't even realize you had that skin condition where I don't know how to say the skin condition, so I'm not even going to say it. But I said to him, I also deal with health issues. And then he's like, how come you didn't tell me? I'm like, because this is not something I'm going to broadcast or put in my profile because it's endometriosis. I do have some type of menstrual cycle issues. I have fibroids. So then I said that to him. And so then we communicated with that. But toward the end, I walked away because he was not consistent in his communication. He was not making plans. And I understood. I was like, this is not the person for me. He already canceled twice. And his lack of previous matches with me have shown me who he is. And I don't want a person like that. And he also has a son and I'm child free by choice. And I said to him, you know what, I would prefer to date someone who has no children because I've been through that before and it's very painful and children can get attached to you. And he just said something to me like, well, the age range that you're looking for, it's going to be really hard for you to find someone who has no children. And I'm like, no, I believe that my person exists and I want a man who has no children because I don't want to deal with that. I've already dealt with that for 5 years and I don't want to put myself through that again. And it just comes to like what I desire in a relationship. So I walked away from that person, but maybe this could be a reason. I don't want you to go and dissect and overanalyze this. I'm just giving you some reasons why someone might ghost. Also, their self-concept or how they feel about themselves. Maybe they have low self-esteem, insecurities. They don't feel worthy. Maybe they have some issue with their body. You never know what's going on with people's lives. The person is probably not in a good place in their lives. Like I said, maybe life transitions, who knows? But even if they're not, they should be communicating with you. And you both have like social differences or political differences. Like you never know. Maybe that's the reason why. And he just doesn't know how to communicate with you. So those are a few of the reasons that I found and that I could think about of why a person might ghost. But at the end of the day, we need to turn the focus back on us and how this experience is making us feel and what we can do about it. And what you can do to move on is sit with the discomfort of your emotions and allow the feelings to come through, because your experience is valid. How you feel is valid. Your emotions is valid. It doesn't matter how you feel or what emotions they are. If ghosting feels like being abandoned and rejecting and being rejected, and you struggle with abandonment and rejection wounding. So, in order to turn that around, the pain that you feel, you have to go and heal those wounds. And the best way to heal the abandonment wound is to turn it around and mirror it back to you and ask yourself if you are abandoning yourself. And the rejection wound, ask yourself, am I rejecting myself? Is there any part of me that I'm rejecting? Is there any part of me that I'm abandoning? That's the way you kind of like mirror everything back to you and you start healing. So work through the feelings and emotions that come up around being ghosted, abandoned, rejected. What wounding is this healing? Is this hitting or triggering or being triggered? I ask myself, what am I feeling? Is there a situation in my childhood or when I was younger that feels the same way, that I'm actually feeling the same way that I have felt before? And once I identify a similar situation in my past, in my childhood, in my teen years, when I was in my 20s, it doesn't matter what it is, but if you have felt in a similar way and you have experienced the same emotions, you can work to heal those core wounds. Mostly, for example, if you have felt like you have been used since you were little or younger, abandoned, rejected, not chosen, then my most favorite tool to heal those wounds, besides the inner child healing, the reparenting, is EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, which is tapping, which taps on different acupressure points in pretty much your upper body portion. And that helps you release trauma and emotions without really getting re-traumatized or talking too much about the experience. This is focusing on the emotions. So the next thing that you can start doing is indulge in doing things to soothe you, to nurture you, to show up for you. So there's a lot of self-care and love. This is where you can also show up for yourself and not abandon not abandon yourself right now. So you need to ask yourself, how can I be there for me? How can I show myself that I'm not going anywhere, that I'm not abandoning myself? What can I give myself right now? In what ways can you show up for yourself? In what ways can you show acceptance? Can you show you are there for yourself, that you got your back, that you are going to take care of you, that you're not rejecting you, that you're accepting you, that you're loving who you are? It doesn't matter how you feel. And in what ways can you give this to your inner child? This is called reparenting. And you can also talk about the parts within you that are being triggered, more like on internal family systems. You can talk to the version of you, or that, I guess, if you can put it in an identity, the version of you that is being rejected, then you can talk to the rejected part of you that feels rejected, like the mothering. And this is how I do it. It can be a little confusing. For example, my inner mother, I reparent my inner child by talking to the rejected or the abandoned part, using the mothering energy or what I wish my mom would have given me. This is how I kind of internalize it and do it. And then I talk to that part and I say, I love you. You're so worthy. You're so enough. I reparent myself. And what's hurting you? Why do you feel rejected? And I talk to that part as if my mom was talking to me or my dad was talking to me. And that's kind of like how I reparent that part of myself, that rejected part, that abandoned part, that part that feels used. Why do you feel used? How can I make you feel that you're not? Like, I love you, you're enough, you're worthy, you're so valuable. Like, I just start reparenting my inner child. And that has been like a game changer. I also do, obviously, meditations, do Reiki, do a lot of other tools that I provide not only for myself, but for my clients, that can really help. But that's going to be a game changer. The next thing is that you need to block them and don't reach out to them. Don't chase them. Don't pursue them. Don't try to get closure. Closure happens within yourself. And maybe one day when you are at a better place, if that person contacts you and apologizes you, with oftentimes that happens, then let it be. But don't go out of your way to try to get that closure or try to get an answer, because a lot of times you're not going to get the truth. Don't follow them on social media, and because what's going to happen is that you are going to start posting quotes and things for them, not for you, and you're not going to be focusing on you. You're still going to be centering him or that person, and we want to decenter men at this time, and we want to turn the focus on you. Avoid dwelling and making it about your worth and value. Like I said, it's not about your worth and value, because your worth and value and enoughness is innate within you. But if you have those core wounds, you're going to have to do the inner work, and you can seek professional help if you want. You can DM me. I do have coaching available for this. The next thing is that don't let the situation be a determining factor for giving up on dating and finding your person and love and believing in love again. Like, don't let one person determine what you truly desire. Don't allow them to have the power to dictate how you view love and what you desired and how hopeful or not you feel. Like, you should still feel that your person is out there, and this person just move out of the way so the right person could come in. It's a blessing in disguise. Rejection is redirection. You can use, like I said, EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, to shift the emotions. You can DM me for some sessions. It comes together with the coaching for me because it goes hand in hand. And the other things that you can start doing, you can write a list of the qualities that you desire in a partner, how you want to feel in a relationship, how you want to be treated. This way, this way, you're going to start harnessing the power of believing in love again and believing the man that you desired exists in the relationship that you desired and connection exists. Also, you can write down how you want to lead yourself through this, as in, if you were this powerful, badass version of you, how would you handle being ghosted? How would you lead yourself right now if you were being ghosted, if you were this version of you that you desired? What would she do? How would she feel? How would she act? What are her belief systems? How does she move? And this is one of those things that you need to start kind of tapping into, that, okay, my version of me that feels empowered, that feels like a badass, she is not going to make it about herself. She's going to think that that person, it was his loss, it was not my loss, and I'm powerful. I'm going to attract the best person for me, and he was not my person. I'm so glad he disqualified himself. Something like that. What is something empowering affirmations that you can start telling yourself so you can start shifting into that mindset? And you can rely on your emotional support system and find ways to sort of get that emotional support. And like I said, if you don't have a group of friends or someone that you can talk to, you can always go to a professional. You can go to a therapist if you need one, or you can hire a coach. You can DM me for spots available. Like I said, my coaching is already opened, and you can also turn the focus on you even more by starting to work out, by starting to focus on your nutrition and your habits. Because sometimes when things like this happen, you tend to bypass your habits like journaling, meditation, working out. You don't feel like doing anything because you're so sad. You need to start doing things to show up for you. And it doesn't matter, and this has been my mantra, or I guess my way of thinking since 2012 when I started this journey, is that it doesn't matter what happened the night before or the day before or currently what's happening right now. I'm always going to show up for myself. And the way that I show up for myself is always with my habits, working out first thing in the morning. I do my meditation. I do my journaling. I do my Reiki. I do my affirmations, my manifestation, my scripting. I eat healthy. I take care of myself. I'm focused on me. I'm working on my goals and my dreams. So all the focus is on me. And if I do feel sad or hopeless, or I do have those emotions, because they're very valid, that sometimes they're going to come back like, am I not enough? Even though I know I'm enough and worthy, sometimes those emotions and feelings come and thoughts come through. I start doing EFT right away, and I start reading my list of what I desire in a relationship. But right now, like, I'm not dating. So I just start reading my manifestation list and I start focusing on my goals. But when it did happen, I would write down exactly what I wanted in a relationship, how I wanted to feel, and I would just focus on that list and focus in my energy, that I still believed in love, and it doesn't matter what someone did. I'm not going to allow that person to dictate what I desire for my future or my hopes and believing in love. Know that you deserve someone that can clearly communicate with you and be emotionally available. Another thing, like I said, he exited and disqualified himself, and this is a blessing in disguise. He showed you who he is, and you don't want a man like that. That's not reliable, that cannot be there for you, that cannot communicate. That is something that happened to me. And I kind of want to tell you of how I have handled ghosting. I already shared like 2 examples, but I want to share one more, because this have been really life-changing for me, how I handled it. I was dating someone last year that I thought we were having a great relationship. It was 3 months. I had met his family. They loved me. I never had problems with him. I communicated well. If something I didn't, he never really did things that I didn't like, but there was one time that I said something to him. I poured my heart and I opened up about something that I was insecure about. So I texted him like a paragraph about something, and literally he just said, okay, I'm going to the gym. I'll text you later. And I just felt so neglected and so ignored and disregarded. So like that triggered me. It activated my kind of feeling rejected, like he didn't care about me. And I communicated to him. I said, hey, like, I didn't know you were gonna work out, and I actually opened up to you about something that I've been very insecure about. I was very vulnerable and open, and I just felt like ignored, and I didn't like how that made me feel. I said that. I said that to him, and I didn't think anything of that. But then I went on a trip to Texas, and I ended up getting sick. I ended up getting in 2020 getting the Rona, and he ghosted me for 48 hours, and I couldn't believe it. I was on quarantine. I went to Texas to see my sister and my nieces, and it was my niece's first birthday, and I never miss my baby's first, my nuggets, my nieces and nephews' first birthday. I always have to be there. So I was so bummed that I'm in quarantine. I'm in the room. The party's going out in the yard. I am not there. I am struggling. I'm not feeling well. And this man disappears for 48 hours. Mind you, I've never had an issue with him. I've never had any problems with him. I've always communicated. I felt like he also communicated well. We were so happy. I was completely blindsided. I literally was completely blindsided. And I was like, well, he also didn't offer to bring me to the airport. He didn't even ask me how I was getting to the airport. Like, he's not. There were other instances that I was like, I realized that he was not reliable, and I need a man that's reliable. And there were a few things that I started kind of like putting 2 and 2 together. And I was like, okay, I thought everything was great. I wanted to be part of his family, of his life. Like, I really saw things coming. But there were a few things that I just started feeling like we're not really aligned. Like, it feels like there's no room for me to, let's just say we end up like moving together. He's extremely OCD, like a hyper cleaning freak, like cleaning freak. Like, I kid you not, that house was spotless, like a magazine. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm like, it just feels like there is no room. And I don't want to feel like I'm walking on eggshells. So I kind of started analyzing, like, is this the person that I desire? Like, do I really see myself with this person? Besides the fact that he ghosted me, which was very painful. And I was struggling with that. But I kind of like didn't appreciate that. I didn't appreciate the fact that he was not communicating with me when he never had I never gave him an issue I've never even, he always communicated with me. So that's why I was blindsided, because I'm like, I don't understand. He knows that he can always talk to me. What's happening? Why is he ghosting me? So I was very hurt. And then after 48 hours of not hearing from him, I decided to break up with him. And I decided to break up with him, and he never replied. Later on, months later, we reconnected. He had already been in another relationship for 4 months, and he actually traveled with this person because we reconnected and we sort of talked about what happened. And he said, I should have reached out to you. Everyone in my family was telling me to do that. And I was like, okay, well, it's not like I was looking for closure, but we had the conversation. And his reason why is because he said that he felt like he was a shitty person. I made him feel like he was a shitty person for that conversation before he was going to the gym. And because of what I said, how I felt, and I was like, but I never said that about you. I just said that I didn't like how I felt. I felt ignored, but I never called you. And I never said that you were a shitty person. Or he said he just felt horrible about himself. I'm like, why didn't you talk to me about it? You had an open flow of communication with me. Like, why didn't you communicate with me? He's like, I don't know. So then I realized that he was emotionally unavailable, because we also talked about that. He's like, yeah, I should have opened up to you more about things that I was going through. I felt unworthy. I didn't feel good about myself. So he had a lot of insecurities within himself. And he never talked to me about that, even though I was always open talking about things. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we were not a great fit if he didn't feel safe and comfortable enough to open up to me, because he's not used to it. And I realized that he's sort of like an avoidant. I'm like, okay. And then he did say that he fell in love with me, that he hasn't had or found a connection like what we had. Because I'm telling you, like, I really thought that could be it. And he even would always post that I was his forever person, that he thought I was the one. So when the ghosting happened, I was completely heartbroken. I was blindsided. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it, especially when I ended things and he didn't reply. Like, he just completely banished, and I banished, and I kind of just dealt with how I was feeling on my own without the closure. It was really hard. It was really hard for so many months because I did internalize a lot of things. But I wanted to make this episode because of lessons that I have learned on healing myself from being ghosted. And this was really not about me, because I said, but can you please acknowledge the fact that I never told you that you were a horrible person? You felt that way, and you could have said, hey, I thank you for telling me how you feel or how I made you feel, Mary, but this is not how I'm feeling with what you said. I'm like, why didn't you say that to me? And we could have fixed and find a solution together for this, but you didn't. Instead, you just completely ghosted and abandoned me when I needed you the most. I was sick. Who ghosts and abandons someone when they have the Rona and they are in quarantine? Like, who does that? So I didn't like that. I didn't appreciate that. That's another reason why I walked away. And when we reconnected, obviously we had the conversation. He apologized. I apologized, because we should have like had better communication. And I guess like we realized that we probably didn't have the good communication that I thought either. So I was like, okay, well, that's something that I need to understand and learn and work on when I actually do attract someone. So he made it seem like he was still interested in me, but he had just gotten out of our relationship. And mind you, he had gone on a 2-week trip to Europe with his ex, and they broke up within a few days into the trip in Italy. And I guess that they were not a good match. And this is when he said to me, like, I've never met someone who has the same connection. Like, we vibed in so many things, and I just haven't been able to find that. I don't want to go back on dating apps. So I was like, okay. I'm like, well, and I said, well, do you want to have a relationship again, or what's going on? So he said that he needed to work on himself. So I trusted. I was like, okay, sure, whatever. Go and work on yourself, because I'm like so busy and I'm not dating. I'm minding my own business. I'm building my life. I'm rebuilding my coaching practice. And the other day I got curious. I was like, okay, I wonder what happened to him. And mind you, This is a person with a J name. J names are literally not good luck for me. They are just not, they turn out to be not the best people ever. And even though he was not abusive or anything, but I just don't appreciate the ghosting. I don't appreciate him not having not communicating well and so many other things. But I got curious and I was like, oh, I wonder what he's doing. He's in a whole new relationship already. And mind you, this was about 2.5 months ago. And I was just like, how are you in a whole new relationship when you said you still loved me and all of this? And I was just like kind of like in shock a little bit because I'm like, it said something like they met on Bumble. And I was like, you say you were not gonna go back on dating apps. And okay, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm like, I hope it works out for him. I hope he's happy. I think she's like he's in his early 40s and she's like, I think in early 30s. And I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna like he's done for me. He's done for me. Yes, I learned a lot of lessons from him. He treated me well when he did. His family adore me, but I just realized that I was so unattracted to so many things. And I'm like, it's okay. He was not the person for me. Maybe it's the person for that girl. And I hope it really works out. I wish him the best, but I'm done. I'm done with that thing. But don't ghost people like that. And the other story that I want to tell you, and this is probably like, this happened way after that relationship. I was supposed to go out on a date to my favorite restaurant. So we had the reservations and everything. Obviously, I'm on my way there. I show up and there's no reservation. He's nowhere to be found. And I literally got ghosted. I got ghosted. So what I decided to do, I took myself out on a date. I took myself out on a date to that's my favorite restaurant. I love it. So I ended up having a really good time because I'm like, if somebody ghosts you on the day of the date, take yourself out on a date. Like you will forever be grateful. So I end up going on a date with myself. I'm sitting at the bar because there were no other tables open. And I'm sitting, and next to me is like an older gentleman. But I'm sitting there. I order my favorite dish, glass of wine. This man has his dinner. He has a bottle of wine. Somehow we start talking because he's sitting next to me. He's asking me some stuff and he's showing me his wine. And we start talking, and this man is just telling me like he's visiting on business, things like that. So he's like, what do you do? So I'm like, oh, I'm here on a date. And at this time, there were two men on the opposite side of the bar who sent me a drink, and I declined the drink. And I told the bartender, oh no, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm just here on a date with myself. Thank you. And I rejected the drink. So this man is like seeing this and hearing me, and he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh, I love dating myself. I take myself out on dates, and I actually help women heal themselves, take their power back, date themselves, turn the focus on them. And I'm just explaining to him my business, what I like doing, how I came to do this work. And it was a nice conversation. He was just telling me, he was showing me pictures about his grandchildren because I was telling him about my nieces and nephews. And when I go and pay, my tab, the bartender's like, oh, he took care of it. And I'm like, when did that happen? I did not even see it. I think it happened when I went to the restroom, but I was so thankful. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. He's like, thank you for everything that you're doing for women. You deserve it. And for me, that was like, this is 10 times better than if I would have had that date with a person. And I'm so glad I did this. And that was just an incredible experience. I said goodbye. And then that was it. That was the end of it. He was an older gentleman. I hope he's doing well. I hope his business is successful. But being ghosted has been quite the journey. And it's also happened before now when I understand now that if a man wants to go on a date with me, the person is not confirming, is not making reservations, is not sending me details. I'm just going to take it as there is no date. And if that person doesn't communicate often, I don't want to go on a date with you. I'm sorry. That's a boundary that I need communication for me. And if it doesn't happen, I really don't want to go on a date with you. And even before I go on a date, I do have, like I said, I do need to make sure that this person is aligned with me. I do need to make sure that I'm saying yes to meet in person with someone that has similar values, similar vision for life, because I also I don't want to spend my weekends with someone who does things that I don't like, that I'm not passionate about. This is another reason why I walked away from someone that I met this year, because one, he was not a good person. He was a horrible person with a J name. And he was just like misogynistic. He was sexist. He was racist. And when his true colors started coming up and I started seeing how he spent his days, his weekends, like I didn't want to be part of it. I'm like, no, I'm not in alignment with this. I don't see myself doing this all weekends, watching movies. This is what you do every single day. Like he had a job that he worked from home and all he did was watch TV and movies. I'm like, I want someone that is a little bit more busy. Yeah, time freedom is amazing, but I want someone that has goals, that has ambition, that wants to do something with his life. This person didn't seem like he did. And that was just like a turn off. And I was like, no, this is another reason why I need to walk away. Besides the fact that I did not like how he was treating me already. I was like, well, thank you. Now I see who you are. I don't like who you are. And I'm walking away. And I ended the thing. And now I'm happy. I'm single. I'm enjoying my life. I'm just taking care of me. I'm working on this podcast. I'm working on my other podcast. I have two podcasts. I'm working on so many things that I have. Like I'm so focused. I'm so excited. But I wanted to talk to you about this because sometimes when I see TikToks or Instagram reels or on Facebook things about women getting ghosted, or if you are in one of those groups, like it breaks my heart how so many women don't know how to move on from that. And it's okay because I used to be in that place. I'm like, oh, that used to be me questioning everything, asking women, why do you think he ghosted me? And this is the last text, and kind of dissecting and analyzing. And that's centering men so much. And if you need help decentering men, I do have a podcast all about decentering men, ways in which we center men that we are not even aware of. And I also have another podcast on how to move on from a breakup, because a lot of times this can feel like a breakup with no closure. So I do have so many other podcast episodes that you can start listening to. But if you need more help, if you're like, you know what, like I need to focus on me, I need to start loving myself more, I need to start healing the emotions, the core wounds, my childhood, I just need to come back into my power, send me a message. All the links are in the show notes. Send me a message in ways that we can work together, especially when it comes to the anxiety and the desperation that you feel not knowing. That can be not fixed, but it can be alleviated with EFT through multiple sessions. And once you understand how to use that tool, that energy tool, that healing energy tool, you can literally start doing it on your own every time you feel anxiety or overthinking, or things start coming into your mind about why he ghosted you, you're making it about you. You can use this tool to shift those emotions and turn your power back and focus on you. So if you need any help, let me know, send me a message. But I hope this episode helped. And if you feel someone needs to hear this episode, or you want to post it, please share it on social media. And I would love it if you can leave a review and let me know your thoughts, and let me know if you have been through this, what's helped you move on from being ghosted, how you have handled it. But let me know your thoughts. I would love to connect with you, and I cannot wait to see you the next time. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation on the Feminine Truth Podcast. This podcast is for you, for me, for us, for the Feminine Collective. Thank you for spending your time and energy with us. I so appreciate it. Please, it would mean so much if you could share this in your Instagram stories, in your Facebook stories, or everywhere, so this message gets spread and others can find this podcast and this conversation. And if you feel like someone needs to hear this message, please share with them. I would be so grateful for you, and let us know your thoughts, how this has helped you, how you connected with this topic, or how this has felt in your body. And lastly, if you feel the pull, I would be immensely grateful if you could take the time to leave a review so more people can find my podcast and this conversation. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you on the next episode.